So I think it's time for us to get started. So welcome again, everyone, and thank you so much for joining. Today, we're going to have a design leadership fire session. So we are warming up the conversation on design leadership, and we're warming up for the course that is going to be starting on July 12th. Today, we have these amazing speakers. I'm going to give you the opportunity to introduce yourselves in a minute. I'll just quickly go through your names and who you are. So we have Michael Tam, Global Associate Design Director at IBM, Erin Kazali, Senior Director and Head of Product at Automatic, and Barbara Voltik, Design Director at Logi. So thank you again, panelists, and they are also leaders of the Design Leadership Program for joining us. I'll briefly introduce a little bit about ECHOS, what are we doing here, and the course, and then we start with the questions and we hear from the panelists. So again, if you are joining now, please write in the chat what kind of designer are you and which city you live or you're thinking in from. So for me, let me introduce myself. I am Juliana Proserpio. I am the founder and chief design officer at ECHOS. I am originally from Brazil. So if you hear an accent, it's from South America, from Brazil. I am a designer, obviously, entrepreneur, and I have been working with design thinking for many, many years already. We founded ECHOS back in 2011 in Brazil, and then we are now a global company. I'm based here in Sydney, Australia. So about ECHOS, if you don't know us, we are a global innovation lab driven by design. We have three business units inside ECHOS. We have ECHOS School of Design Thinking, where we host all of these courses, including the design leadership that we're going to be talking more about later on. We also have many other courses focusing on design and innovation, such as design thinking, service design, UX design, business design, design futures, facilitation, and etc. We also have ECHOS Innovation Projects, where it's a consultancy where we help organizations to accelerate innovation through design. And we have ECHOS Ventures, where we accelerate some smaller ventures inside ECHOS by ourselves. In the innovation projects, we are really trying to help business create value and innovate for good. In the School of Design Thinking, we are helping people and organizations master the innovation mindset, skills, and tools. And that's why we created the design leadership. It's our newest program. ECHOS is a global innovation lab. Like we said, we have people spread. These were our physical offices. Nowadays, this slide doesn't make much sense because we have people working at ECHOS in different locations. There is many people. That's a funny story as well. The people are actually moving. They are going to different cities because they don't need to go to the office anymore. Probably you have been feeling that as well and seeing that happening as well. So here's a little bit of our impact since 2011. We had more than 40,000 people in our courses, more than 150 projects developed. And we are also proudly part of the Global Design Thinking Alliance. We are the only ones who are an independent innovation lab driven by design. We're not a university. And we are very happy to be collaborating with all of these amazing schools around the world on the research of design thinking as well. So if you came here to hear more about design leadership, we are launching a course. It's the first time of this course in the world. The design leadership is a unique program to help you improve your design leadership, learning from top global and regional leaders like those who are here. We will have 12 global masterclasses during the course, 12 regional live practices. There will be workshops. You're going to be putting the learnings in practice, and you're going to be learning peer-to-peer. So you're really going to be sitting together in the room with other design leaders like yourself and really learning peer-to-peer as well. And we're going to be forming a global network. So it will start in July 12th. So we are warming up. It's really close. The course will be a 12-week program, a very comprehensive program on design leadership. It will start on the basics of what is design leadership. Then we're going to be learning more about how to listen deeply, how to give feedback, how to focus on digital products, how to articulate the value of design up with the C-level and also down. How do you articulate the value of design outside of your organization? How do you think about the future of service design? How do you create a vision and really influence the strategy of your organization? How do you design for impact? How do you design and set up a practice, a design practice in your organization? How do you scale a team? How do you extract creativity and use technologies who are pushing the boundaries? And how do you maintain your team to the last mile of design? And then finally, how do you shape organizations through design ops and the paths for design leaders? We have been talking and interviewing, doing a lot of research with design leaders to design this program. And we know that everyone is going up and the ladder is moving quite fast nowadays. If you are already a design manager or design director or VP of design, what is the next step, right? So how do we create even more impact and what is the next step? So that's why we created this course. So these are all the guests and our global masterclasses that will be in the program. We have Erin Casali here who will be in the program and Michael Tam as global masterclasses. We also have all of these amazing regional leaders who will be giving a workshop and really helping this community, your local community, to learn about design leadership and how design leadership work in your field, in your context. Barbara here is a regional leader from Brazil. So we also have all of these other amazing design leaders. The list is very long because depending on the region that you're thinking and joining, you're going to be having a different track for the regional leaders. The global masterclasses are all the same for everyone. And the course again starts in July. The classes are on Mondays for the global masterclasses and on Wednesdays for the local and the regional workshops. So let's start. To start, I just wanted to remind us of this amazing quote from Bruce Mal from his new book called that is the 24 Principles for Designing Massive Change. And I think it's very interesting because he says that to lead is to envision the future and then systemically work to realize the vision. And that is exactly what designers at their best do and are doing every day. Leadership and design are both processes of social influence that aim to manifest a vision of what is possible. So with that, I just wanted to invite our panelists. So maybe if you could just introduce yourselves and talk a little bit about who you are and what are you going to be, what kind of content and knowledge you're bringing to the design leadership program. And up to you, you can choose the order. I'll leave the mic for any of you. I'm not going to point to anyone, that's not fair.
I'll let the lady speak. Who wants to take it first? Okay, we're too shy.
Michael, you go, Michael. Yeah.
All right. Okay. All right. Hi, everyone.
Let's use the
Michael.
order we see here on the slide, so it's easier.
Yeah, let's do that. Hi, everyone. This is Michael. So I'm a Global Associate Design Director at IBM iX, which is the experience design consulting arm of IBM, where I help my enterprise clients, the business, big enterprise business, to place human at the center of how the business would think, would act and operate. So I think that's something that's very, very important for all this enterprise going through a period of change, of disruption because of technology and social changes. So coming up to that 12 classes of global master classes, I'll be taking one of them, and hopefully I will bring everyone along on a exploration to figure out, how might we extract creativity and push the boundaries of design excellence. And maybe we would touch into the realm of extended reality or even quantum computing from a design perspective. And I'm very excited to be exploring these different areas with the audience. So that's what I'm going to do coming up with in my class.
Okay.
Barbara? Oh, Erin? Yeah.
Yeah, let's follow the slide. That's a good suggestion.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, hello everyone. I'm Erin Casali. I hope the audio is fine. I'm currently a senior designer and head of product design for Jetpack, one of the products in Automatic. I've been in Automatic for a long time. Automatic is one of the pioneers of remote working. And I started when we were 200 people. Now we are 1,400 people. So one of the skills that I brought in in the company is like scaling, helping companies scale, which is exactly a topic today. But I'm not going to talk about this in the masterclass itself, and instead I pick a topic that is really dear to me. It's one of the most important soft skills, that is the ability to give and receive feedback. It's a huge topic. I find it's incredibly fascinating, and I believe it's at the core of design, because designers need to be able to provide good structured critique and also be able to absorb it both individually and at scale through research. So beautiful topic for me, and I hope to see you there.
Cool. Thanks, Erin. Thanks, Michael. So nice to meet you, everyone here. Despite of my name, I'm Brazilian. I'm based in São Paulo. I'm currently design director at Logi. Logi is a logistics startup. We are one of the Brazilian unicorns. I've been at Logi for a year and a half now. And before that, I was global head of design at ThoughtWorks, which is a technology and advisory consultancy. I was global head of design, and before that, head of design for Brazil. Even before that, I was an entrepreneur. Let's say I had a few startups here. I worked a lot with collaborative economy. So in the past 15 years, pretty much what I've done is to put together teams and to build up design teams for different companies. Right now, I'm doing this for my current company, but at ThoughtWorks and at Engage, I was doing for other people's companies. So my session on the regional forums will be about how to scale up and put together a design team, and hopefully we'll be able to reach some of these topics here today to give you a little teaser of what is coming next. And yeah, pretty much this is it. And again, thanks Juliana for inviting me for this conversation. I'm very excited to see what happens in the next 40 minutes we have here today.
Well, thank you again, Michael, Erin, and Barbara. It is an absolute pleasure to have the three of you chiming in and discussing. Thank you again, everyone who is joining us. It's really nice to have these people discussing design leadership, how to scale teams. Just so that everyone knows, we also have here on the call Luna Pigato. She's also the design leadership advisor. So if you have any questions about either questions that you want to bring to the leaders, or if you have questions about the course, please ask in the chat or talk with Luna. She's here as well. And we are going to get started with the questions. So we prepared basically how we're going to go. We have 3 questions that we're going to start the conversation that the panelists will discuss. And then we will do a poll where you, the audience, you're going to be choosing between 3 questions of what are the things that you really want for them to discuss. So we want to make this a bit more interactive. And this is just a warm-up of the conversation. Of course, it's quick, it's a webinar. So we're going to get started. So the first question that I would like to ask for the panelists is, what is design leadership and why it matters?
Okay, we're going the same order, right? Oh. All right, let's go that order then. Well, I think, well, design leadership is obviously is about taking lead, and I think it's about, well, when we talk about taking lead, I think it's all about having that courage to seek truths, because I think a lot of the time the truths about a business, about a challenge, about what's the problem that we're trying to solve is all that matters. It is the source and even the boundaries of creative excellence. So I think that is why it's important, taking lead, having the courage to seek those kind of truths. So that's my point of view. How about you, Barbara?
Well, I think this question has a lot of answers, right? But for me to design leadership is it's setting the vision, and I was very fond of the previous code that Juliana shared. I think leadership is about setting the direction rather than setting the speed. I believe that it is important because it's a way that you need to find a way to tell your team in a very clear voice, in a very good tone, where we are going. So I like a lot to use metaphors, and I do believe that a design leader is someone that will be drawing a map and will be taking your team through navigating this ocean, this different path that you be exploring together. So it's about telling where to point your vessel. What about Erin? Can you add to us?
Yeah, I mean, I think you pretty much covered a lot of the basics there. So I don't have a lot to add to this answer, because I totally agree. In one sense is, the vision. So, setting a direction, setting a path. And on the other side is the way I would maybe rephrase is a little bit connecting the customer, the user, to the business needs. So I think that design leadership is in a key role to be able to connect this different side of a business, directly with the users on one side and directly the business goal on the other. The only thing I could add there, maybe that is a little bit meta, but the importance of design leadership, especially these days where we are reaching I would dare to say a different stage of maturity for design in business, is the ability to set examples, to set, create career paths, create journeys for people to move on and find space for design in their own career, in businesses, and so on. So there is, I think, this middle ground that if we put on a more historical scale of where we are with design today, there is also this, like, if you want, educational and career building moments in design.
Yeah, this is just adding something. I think you brought a very important topic, that it's the time access, right? So I think this question might have many different answers depending on which year it was made. So if we are talking about 2021, it's something very specific, and then we're talking about remote work and remote teams and how to connect people and how to bring everyone together when there's a global crisis going on. If it was 20 years ago, we'll be probably talking about web design and what is the internet and how to make it popular and so on. And we'll still be talking about not only digital design, but also about graphic design and some other areas that these days are pretty much mixed up, right?
Don't
That
you
is
think
very
it's interesting
interest-
because of
Sorry,
this
Michael, go ahead.
timeline thing? No, I'm just going to touch on what Barbara was just saying, because it's interesting we bring in the time, element into this, because you talk about mapping this area, the direction, the map for us, for the design team to explore as a leader. But then at the same time, if you think about 20 years ago in a classic design, it seems the map that you need to draw it out is much simpler. Right now it's so hard, right? And that's the challenge for everyone who's looking to lead.
I think that's what I was gonna. Thank you so much for your answers. I think you were saying something very interesting about the design maturity that is becoming higher, and I think that's why design leadership is becoming more and more important nowadays. You were also mentioning now, Michael, the scope of what design and designers do really became much bigger. I have been hearing lots of our peer design leaders saying, look, now everyone in the organization asks me things, from the finance until the customer experience, until engineering, until everyone, right? So everyone, HR, everyone is asking design's opinion, to give strategy, to give vision, to help with the interaction with the user or internal interaction. So we're being asked a lot, right? And it is really our time, in a way, that we are there in the room, and we are now able to influence the C-level influence organizations. But at the same time, we need to show results. And I think this is a challenge as well, because the teams are growing, the challenges are bigger. I just wanted to give another question following up on that. So why do you think now is so important, design leadership, in your opinion?
If I may, there is, I would say the simple answer just to get this started is that up until just a few years back, we were the famous seat at the table, right? A lot of the discussion at conferences about finding a seat at getting the seat at the table. Now, of course, it's not everywhere, but now we do have that seat. So that's why the conversation now has changed, because now we are at the table and we are like, oh, okay, now what can we do at this table? And there are a lot of conversations that are highlighting we're not doing enough, you're not having the right conversation, but that's a conversation we're having now. That's a point of maturity we're at now. And that's great. That's exactly a conversation we need to have.
Thank you.
Well,
Thank
I just
you for
want
that.
to say thank you to Apple, Steve Jobs. Their success showed the way for why design is important, the value that it brings to a business. And suddenly, 10 years later, everyone wants design as part of the business solution. But then the landscape has changed because of how complexity added into business, the dynamic of working with different stakeholders change. Seems like everyone can talk a little bit about design, but then still there's a lot more work to do. So that kind of stress on, even though we're giving that seat in the boardroom, but still it makes it even harder than before. So yeah, it's still a lot.
Can I make a quick counterpoint in the sense that I can agree with you with the statement on Apple, but at the same time, it was also the wrong setting, in the sense that a lot of the mythology around Apple, because it's not really how it worked, it was mostly mythology, is about, the head of Apple taking design decisions. And that's not true. But still a lot of leaders, a lot of CEOs, a lot of, vice presidents and executives are still thinking, well, sure, I have design, but I'm ultimately the one taking design decision like Apple did. And I was like, that's the wrong discourse. We need to change that.
Am I supposed to respond to that?
If you want, I just wanted to hear, more about what is the right discourse then? What we should be chasing?
I think I understand what Aaron was saying. I think, of course, it's easy to just say, I completely simplify the whole statement in terms of, say thank you to Apple and all that. I think I was basically looking at from the kind of impact that Apple brings, and a lot of the time, especially in a more, I guess, design immature region, that they would look for that kind of outcome that Apple brings. But then I agree that it's getting everyone involved with a discussion, having a design conversation is difficult, and it's all part of building the culture, building that language, building that common language, so that everyone contribute in the right manner. One thing recently that the GM of IBM Design mentioned, he said the reason that we develop enterprise design thinking, or finding a common language for design, having our own design thinking approach, is to create, it's not to get everyone to practice design thinking. It's just to find a language and so that everyone understand design, and at the same time it create room for designers to work. So I think that was very, very interesting, because once you get everyone understand that the way that designer work, then we have the space to lead, have the space to contribute in the right manner. So I think it's again, it's a complicated situation to move forward, but then it takes every one of us to figure out.
Thank you everyone. I'll just start to warm up and spice up the questions a little bit more.
I like that.
So the second question, we have been seeing a lot of growth in our area. I think basically because like on the other fire sessions, I think it was Peter Merholz that said that now every company is a tech company. It doesn't matter if you are a bank, if you are a bakery, if you are a lab, if you are whatever, you are also a tech company in a way. So that's why design grew so much. That's one of the reasons. And we're seeing a crazy amount of people hiring designers and hiring design leaders and scaling their teams. So I know that you all have a bit of experience on that. And we have been facing these challenges because competition is high. How do you hire? Because everyone is trying to hire the same talent. How do you keep them in your team? How do you grow your team? So I wanted to ask you how to create and grow a design team.
I wanna start this one, and I wanna connect this with something that Michael and I were talking before, which is building a common language. I think this is really important, and it's something that people usually take for granted, or usually we have a tendency of remixing and copying companies and teams that we have as a reference. And it's interesting, Juliana, that you mentioned this be after the same talent, because I do believe that to create especially to create a design team, and I do have a few notes here because I do think this is a really important question. And there's something about understanding what the company is and why your challenge is. So design is a very broad area, as we were talking before, and it fascinates me in a way, not in a good way every time, but that we try so much to have similar roles and to just copy what others are doing instead of thinking what we should be doing to achieve the goals that we want to do. So it's very common to see the roles that are trending right now. So you have UX designer, UI designer, or the very old web designer back in the day, or information architecture. So all these things, it doesn't make much sense for me when I look back, and the only thing that stays is you need to understand what your challenge is and why you are building a design team and why you want to grow a design team. So you can build this common language and you can understand how to create the roles you need and how to create and develop this team, you know. It's not, to create a design is not just Control C, Control V, just copy and paste, you know, from successful companies. And this might resonate with what Erin was saying, that to have design in your company is not to hire a Steve Jobs like type of person. You know, you need to go deep, you need to understand a little bit more what design means for you and what design means for your environment, right?
I like the you said the word deep. I think that's the most challenge for a lot of people, a lot of designers, because being able to, before you are able to articulate what design is, before you are able to having that shared common language, I think it's important for designer to really think very deep, very wide as well, to truly understand the problem, the business problem especially, before we can even get to design. And I think that is the challenge for most of the time when we're creating a team and when we're growing a team.
Yeah, I would say that pretty much everything resonates. I want to put an accent on a different part of what you were saying that I think could be relevant to highlight. That is that there is no model, in a sense that models exist and it's good they exist, but no company ever will be able to apply a model one-to-one. So every structure out there needs to map to the internal culture of the company, to the internal design maturity. So it's good that there is a model, but never expect to apply the model as is. There's always an adaptation. And in terms of scaling, that's one of the most important things, you know, getting comfortable with a lot of models and then saying, okay, this bit works for us, this is not going to work in our culture, this is not going to work in our company. And then you run experiments and you see how it works. And the bit instead I would add on top of this is growing the people. That is, of course, growing the design team means growing in size, but you need also to prepare the design leads and the design directors to be there, to get there, to be in the role of managing. And one thing they found useful, so first of all, not all the talent will have the skills to get to management or interest. So first of all, it's important to have the dual path that I would consider, you know, if you want to keep growing your craft, or if you want to grow in a different path, in a kind of a career switch that is more the management. And in this sense, I feel that there are still design skills that are useful, like considering and applying the design skills to the organization itself. So it become organizational design. And of course, there are a lot of skills that can be extracted from service design, you know, sorry. That was kind of the end, so it's fine.
But I like the fact that Aaron touched on one point, which is sometimes you want to grow a team or grow a certain members into to a certain direction. Like you want to grow the team to get them to think more strategically, to get them to be more business aware. But sometimes that's not the direction that they want to go. So I think it's important that we also practice. Well, we talk about this all the time. Practice empathy, right? Not just to your customers or the end user, but actually to your team as well, to really understand what's the career path they want to go down, and what interests them, so that you can find the right position for them in your team. Generally, when I build my team, I tend to well, I'm a big football fan, soccer football fan, so I will create my design team like a football team. So you know, you have someone who play forward, someone that's a defender. So if you think about all the different craft skills, different discipline, you have someone who's better at research, someone better at UI, someone better at dealing with thinking strategically, right? But then, of course, you want to grow everyone, you know, towards what said before, the business awareness and strategic thinking. But at the same time, you also have to have the empathy to work individually to help the individuals.
Yeah, and another thing just to add here that came into my mind is that sometimes we do create more barriers or complexity than we need. So you have in mind the size of the team, right? So Aaron just mentioned the dual path career, and I do believe that the dual path has like a size limit, right? So there, I've experienced in my life some teams that just don't work with a dual path. Like they're not big enough to have the chance for you to be a specialist, or to have the chance for you to be just a manager. If when I look back and I think about putting together like startups that were just starting their products, or were just starting as a business, you might have 2 to 3 designers. They're like generalists. They can go from small research to more complex UIs. But then when you think about like the size of ThoughtWorks design team, where we had almost 300 designers in 14 different countries, we didn't even have like the same roles, you know. So Australia had a different set of names, because how design culture was established in some of our clients was completely different than how design culture was established in our US clients. So we had to have this correspondence, you know. So okay, so we are calling a set of capabilities in Australia as, let's say, UX researcher, but they don't consider themselves to be a specialist, because research is very broad. And then we have the same set of capabilities in in the UK, and in the UK we call them strategists. So it's that there's also this cultural side of it, and the size of the teams that also is very important when you think about creating and kicking off this mindset, or just growing from 300 to 500 designers, right?
I'll just jump in to try to bring a little bit of what you were saying and picking on some things. I think you were saying a few things about growing a team and understanding how we can make it happen. So we were talking about, first, we need to understand what is the vision, and the vision of the company, the intent, the innovation strategy, or the strategy of the company is aligned with the growth of the design team, of the goal, of the value that you're going to be articulating out of design. And then there is this other aspect that usually leaders do. They have to articulate what is design and what is the value of design internally. And I think it's interesting also that you mentioned about these dual path for design teams. Either you're going to be becoming a specialist or a manager, but as Barbara was saying, if you are a startup, how do you do it? Because sometimes you don't have the super specialized, and this is something that we are all living in. At the same time, the maturity, the level of design maturity is very, despite of the fact that we have, let's say, the last mile of design with more design parity nowadays. So the touch points, the interactions, sometimes internally, the design parity, design maturity is very different from one location to another, even if it's the same company. And I think what you're saying about creating common languages is very, very important. So I don't know if anyone wants to comment, or if Aaron, go ahead.
Yeah, I would just want to build up on one thing that Barbara mentioned, because we were talking about two different levels of scale, right? And so I want to confirm that I totally agree with Barbara in the sense that, of course, if you are at a small company, you don't need, the kind of structure and career path you will need at a larger company. The only highlight I will put there is the very moment that a management path exists, there has to be a parallel individual path, a parallel craft path. And that's a mistake I see plenty of times with company growing, that of course the management need is strong. So they're like, yeah, okay, let's define management, but they forget to create the other path. So this is totally a scaling problem, and for medium to large companies, but that also sends the signal that to designers that they need to switch to management to grow, and that's a wrong signal. So to me, Barbara's point was excellent, but I would add that whoever is going to grow their own team, they need to keep this duality in mind.
Thank you, everyone. So that was already a big start of a great discussion. I think that everyone is struggling, and many people in organizations are struggling with. I just want to have the opportunity for everyone to participate as much as possible and bring their challenges and kind of, let's say, things that you want to be discussed here. So we prepared a way for you to kind of participate and bring the conversation to where you want a little bit more. So I'm going to be doing a poll. You're going to be receiving in your end there. And then hopefully from the audience, please let us know which of those questions you want for us to discuss here. So vote there in the poll. Number one, would you fire a team member for underperforming? Why yes, why no? Are design managers and design leaders the same thing? Or three, should design leaders be left for designers? So we have these 3 questions. Please vote, and then we will get started with the second round of the questions. But in the meanwhile, Michael, Barbara, Aaron, if you want to still bring something to wrap it up, the last question, feel free to do it.
I think the having that, I totally agree. Previously, when Aaron touched on the dual path for career growth, I think it is something true. It is something that design leaders need to keep in mind on when they're growing a team, developing a team. But I also think some responsibility should fall with the designers as well, because I think just like anything in the world, if you don't think for yourself, if you don't think it through yourself, it's hard to just wait for your company or anyone else to take care of you. So I think it's important as a designer that you should always be reflecting on your own capabilities and your own career path, and work with your design leaders and managers to craft a path for yourself. Because you can't just wait. I mean, like Barbara's situation, you mentioned in different teams all around the world, you have different, because of different clients or different situation, you will have different sort of position or different roles or titles. And sometimes if you are young designers and you're just waiting for your design leaders or manager to bring those opportunities to you, that's just too late. As much as they want to help you, you need to help yourself as well. So I think it's a two-way street. You need to any young designers that's in the audience, they should also be thinking and reflecting and talking a lot about that with your managers.
Thank you, Michael. It was a great segue. Look, we already have the votes. So we have 52% of the people that want for us to discuss question number 2. So are design managers and design leaders the same thing? And if yes, why? If no, why?
I
I'm
would say
surprised they picked that one.
Yeah. I just want to take this and just say no. To be honest, I was expecting number 3 to be the most voted. I think this is a very hot topic for us to talk in the community. But
wow. Can you see the result? That's surprise. That is a real surprise. When I saw the question, I thought, oh, Juliana, you little devil, you picked the really spicy questions, except the one, but they never vote for the one that's not that spicy. Anyway, I'll let Barbara to finish up. That's an easy one.
No worries. But yeah, no, I don't think managers and leaders are the same thing. And I do believe that these days we train more people to be managers than to be leaders. And I think this is the wrong thing to do. We need more people taking the leadership and being able to set the direction, rather than just thinking that management and leadership are the same thing, and the leader should be just making sure the team is okay and the deliveries are on time. I think this is a gap in our community, and I'm glad we are talking about this. I do believe we need more leaders, and they are definitely not the same thing.
I just wonder, on a serious note, the fact that everyone, half the people vote for this question, whether it is, it is actual reflection of the industry. And like you said, that, Barbara, like you said, it's probably the truth, a gap in the industry, in all this enterprise. They are training people to be design managers, not just design leaders, which is something quite sad. And I think that's for us to do a lot more to correct the situation.
Erin, do you want to add anything into this? Spice it up?
I mean, I think the answer is absolutely correct. So I don't have anything to add on the definition between the two. So the only aspect I may try to introduce here is that there is a confusion in the wording, in the sense that these two are different, but at the same time, they're different when we look closely. When we speak more broadly in the industry, or like on Twitter, probably the most people don't make this distinction. So while I agree there are different language here is not helping us. And part of it is education. Part of it is going to be, in a sense, work we'll all have to do here. The only other element I can introduce is that often design leaders, sorry, this is a bit of a pet peeve for me, but often design leaders are framed as, well, not all framed. There is, again, a sort of myth of the person with a big ego that shows off and so on. And that's actually a bad take on design leaders. So the good take is what Barbara said, that is setting the vision, setting the way forward. But setting a vision could also mean being the person that is able to coordinate a lot of people around it. So it's very far away from the egocentric individual that is often highlighted as the great design leader.
Thank you. While we can give more comments, just while we are doing it, I'm just going to put here on the screen the next set of questions that I'm going to be doing a poll. So for everyone there who is watching us, please choose the second question. But if you still want to chime in and talk a little bit more about design managers and designers, and I think it's interesting what you said about the language is not helping, because this is something that sometimes they are kind of intertwined. Sometimes as a design leader, you're going to have to manage, right? And sometimes as a design manager, you're going to have to lead. And I understand they are different things, and I do believe in that as well. But sometimes they work together in a sense. And I agree with you. The other thing that I wanted to hear from you as a segue question is that you were talking about these big egos as design leaders. And this as a new, let's say, position in a way, historically, we don't have many references from the past to look for. Do you agree, or am I doing a wrong assumption here? Do you think, I think this is something that is really emerging now. That's why there is so much confusion. And that's why we need to, shape better design leaders and help for us to move forward in a different area. I just wanted to hear from what you think about that.
Yeah, I don't think they're great models. But this is not, I want to highlight, this is not specifically a design problem. This is a society problem. Yeah. We as a society, we like to have what is called the lone genius myth. You know, the person that is, oh, I'm so great. And society is like, yeah, you're so great. And that's not useful. It's not useful to the person. It's not useful to society, because emulating these people becomes impossible for the same myth that it's built around them. So design leads really is about shaping a vision, so being able to create that possible future. And it's about creating consensus in the sense, but not in the sense convincing people, in the sense of more in terms of design research. So understanding the perspective of different people and making sure that the future vision, in matter of also diversity, accessibility, and all these other topics, is the right vision. And so when you combine all these aspects, now suddenly design leadership becomes achievable, you know? Yeah. And so more people are like, wait a second, I can do these things. Maybe you can start in small and then grow, but a lot of people can do these things. So let's give them the power to do this.
Yeah, thank you. So we have like 4 more minutes, and then we already have the results for our last questions between these 3 ones here. The winner is the first one with 71%. Can you measure the value of design? So I'll just ask for you, can we measure the value of design, and maybe how? If so, if not, that's okay.
I know Barbara has a very strong
yes, we can measure
thoughts about this.
It doesn't mean that is what we want to show, but I think it's something that we can already do. And also I do think it's not something that every design team has the maturity to do it, but I think that at this point we can measure the value of design. I know this is very tricky, but I do believe we can. And this might have something to do with my consultancy background, because we had to prove the value many times, and there are some ways of doing it. I think the point here is that it's not the same way of measuring for every company. Again, depends on what you're trying to prove here, but there's always a way of showing the value of your work.
I would split this answer in three, in the sense that one, I totally agree with Barbara, in the sense that there are a lot of things in design that can be measured, should be measured. The second thing I want to mention is that sometimes when you say measuring, it could come out as a hard metric, but we have both qualitative and quantitative metrics we can use. So it doesn't have necessarily to be, a strict number. It could be also the outcome of a very well-structured series of periodic interviews or periodic testing you do with the users. So there are a lot of ways that are more qualitative, but still it's a formal measurement done over time on a longer scale on a repeatable pattern. And the third aspect is that there is still, and I don't want to bring this on, but it doesn't deny it can be measurable, but there is still an element that is not measurable. And that's part, I'm going to use a word that is the wrong word, but I think it makes the right context here. It is more in terms of taste. In a sense, taste is something that it could come from the CEO, it could come from the founders, it could come from top management, it could come from a shared culture that already exists in the company, but there is a degree of taste that is an intangible. And a good designer, especially a good design director, is able to sense when joining a company that, okay, I need to accommodate this kind of intangible within the design. And it's part of conversation. It builds up, in the experience you make, talking to people, interacting with people. It's not a measurable part, but it's one thing on top. So that's the only differentiation I would make here. That is, yes, let's measure qualitative and quantitative, but also let's acknowledge that there is a very subjective human aspect to it that is going to be intangible. So let's keep both of them on the table.
Adding to that, just want to say the part that we can't measure in a very specific way, sometimes is the element that would makes your product or your service or your experience stand out. In a lot of the time, it takes a lot of that. It takes a bit of that leap of faith from everyone around you in the team or even outside of the team. Sometimes the design stakeholders will contribute a lot to that, and whether you can get, as a design leaders or as a design team, whether you can get the support to take that leap of faith at the very last moment. I think that would makes a true difference to the design outcome. And don't forget, only after you get that design outcome, then you can measure it. So how do you do it? How, sometimes that situation is a chicken and egg situation. So that goes back all the way to our first discussion point, which is, what is design leadership? Is having that ability to articulate the value of design in a way that might not be measurable, but then still getting everyone to move along with you to be on this journey, to slowly and hopefully bit by bit to showcase the value of design, rather than just say, hey, this is a proven result and then we should just do it right away. That's not the case for design. It's never the case for design throughout history.
That is very interesting, Michael. And I understand what you're saying, because of course, as designers, we're always doing things that we have never been doing before. We're always experimenting. At the same time, I know also that you probably have some hints and some tips, because you are working, I don't know if that's still true, but it was the biggest design team in the world in IBM. What kind of examples, maybe if you have, or stories, or do you have any idea of how IBM, because I'm sure as a company that it was historic engineer driven, there will be some kind of metrics going on there, some that work, maybe some that didn't create any result. Do you have any story or any example to share?
Well, when it comes to measuring the value of design or measuring the outcome of design, as much as I said, we need to take that leap of faith, but then from a day-to-day perspective, we are actually quite malicious in our approach. For example, a lot of the what we call garage projects. So basically these garage projects, we work hand in hand with clients, put a team together and try to innovate, trying to come up with new solutions to problems that sometimes they don't even understand, they don't even know what is the problem, and we need to figure out along the way. And the best way to do it is to include some sort of user research, market research, right from the beginning. And even if it is a very, very small scope of research, that would become the base of our measurement, become the base of how do we judge our design outcome towards our achievement, our own, how much we achieve our goal. And by doing that bit by bit, getting the client, getting stakeholders to understand the outcome is actually in line with our vision, that helps. But then, of course, again, like I said, as much research you would like to do, still you can't measure everyone in the population. So at the end of the day, you still take a little bit of that faith, and that faith is not blind faith. It's based on data, based on some understanding and alignment with the business. Then you take the leap of faith.
Thank you, Michael. Look, we already are late in our resuming our session, so it's very quick. It's the beginning and the warm up. It's a fire session about design leadership. I just wanted to thank again all the panelists and everyone for joining us. Before we wrap it up, I just wanted to ask maybe Barbara, Aaron, Michael, do you have any final tip to tell them, or just a final thing that you wanted to share with the audience? I know this is a hard one. Usually we need some time to think.
Yeah.
I would just repeat one of the earlier mentioned, like there is no one size fits all. Just look at the model, look at the strategies, talk to people, but then find the one that fits.
For me, I think after you, Farah, you go. Sorry.
No worries. I will add that think about when planning, think about granularity. You don't want to go up into too much the details for a 5-year plan. You want to come up with details for a 1-year plan. 5-year plan is something more broad. It's an horizon. So try to overthink stuff, just put it out fast and test it.
It's interesting. It's also this line caught my eye, shaping the next 5 to 10 years of your career. I think if there's only one tip for me, I would say embrace ambiguity, because next 5 to 10 years, you just can't plan. Honestly, you can't plan right now with this kind of speed. So take the first step. Take the first step of embracing the ambiguity of the next 5 to 10 years. Design could just spin in many, many different ways, and you just have to move along with it and keep tapping on the pulse of how the industry and how the world gonna change, and then be a designer for that.
I love that. Thank you so much. We're ending on a high tone. So we were talking about never falling into the trap of a one-size-fits-all. We were also talking about doing a detailed 1-year plan, not a 5-year. 5-year is more like a horizon, and then embracing ambiguity. That's amazing. So I just wanted to thank a lot, and big applause for our panelists. Thank you so much, really, really, for joining us. I really wanted to spend like 10 more hours discussing, but I know that's not possible. So thank you so much. Again, thank you everyone for attending. The session is recorded. And I just wanted to wrap it up. Just remembering that the course will start, we are on the final days for registering and for enrolling to the program. It's a 12-week course that's going to help you to shape your next 5 to 10 years of your career. If you have any questions, talk with me or Luna. We also have a very special discount code. So if you participated, you can get a 20% off of the course if you subscribe into not May. This is wrong until the next week. Any questions, please reach out to Luna. You can also jump on a call with her. We hope to see you very soon in our course in July 12th. We also have an ebook with interviews from our design leaders that are going to be participating and going to be workshop leaders and global masterclasses. So download, it's for free. And then if you want to participate in the next Fire Sessions, we have many local Fire Sessions upcoming. The June 16th will be crazy. We'll have Fire Sessions in APAC, in Hispano-America, and in Brazil at the same time, happening all in the same time. So choose your region. We also have Fire Sessions happening, a global Fire Session also, and more Fire Sessions in APAC and Brazil, and European Fire Sessions coming up as well. So thank you everyone again. If you want to stick around for questions, panelists, again, thank you so much. And if you want to stick around for questions and answers, I'll be here, but feel free to chime out as well. And thank you again.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
If anyone wants to have questions, I don't know, people are still here, or let us know.
I guess because we're still staying here. They're dropping, that's cool. Yeah. But thanks for having